Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and we are on our last song for the Raging Silence album, you guys. We've done it another season. Cannot believe how we're flying through these. It seems like I just started recording episodes for this season, but it's been an amazing album. We are not without a little bit of controversy left here on the final song, though. The booklet to the deluxe CD says that this is the one song Bernie did not sing on. And I thought, didn't we talk about this on Miracle Child, that we agreed that was probably Phil singing? Definitely not Bernie. So I think that they might have just put the comment under the wrong song, because listening to this, I'm certain that this is Bernie. And obviously there was another song that had what we believe to be a different singer. Whether it was Phil or not, I still haven't verified, but I don't think it was Bernie. So that being the case, I think that this was just unfortunately printed under the wrong song in the booklet. I'm going to go with that as we move forward through the last song. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed this season as much as I have. It's been a blast going through these songs. There's a real energy in the band right now. And certainly now that we have 3/5 of the current band that's in the studio as I record this, which is why I can't reach out to them for comment right now. Otherwise, I would ask what the situation was with the vocalist. But they are in the studio recording album 25 as I review album 17. So I'm catching up. But they will, I'm sure, have this album out before I reach Live in the Dream, their last album. So I'm still back and forth on what I'm going to do about that, how I'm going to handle that, because I really want the show itself to be in sort of, chronological order. I think that makes sense until we get to the bonus tracks and when things get a little bit crazy. But as far as the, proper studio albums, I think it's best to do those. So what I think I'm going to do is on my other podcast, I will do a first impressions review of the new album whenever it comes out, unless for some reason I get all these albums done before it's released. I know sometimes, a band will finish recording an album and it's literally 12 months before it hits the market. I can't imagine that Uriah Heep will take that long. I don't know what is all behind that, but whatever it is, I'm sure it will be out before I get to Living the Dream, because we're a ways away from that yet. So that's what I'll do. And of course, I'll let you guys know on this show when that is available. But I think that's the best way to do it, because it's going to be a first impressions review, not a song by song proper review. Plus, it's going to be out of order. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do. So now that I just decided this while I was explaining to you, I hadn't decided yet. There we go. So here is today's song. It is called Pacific Highway. This is a demo again. So I'm going to try not to be too hard on the mix. Or the performances, because again, this was not designed for release initially. And, but it is a cool song and we're going to get into it here. I can tell you, for those people who have never been, I'm going to assume that this relates to the Pacific Coast Highway, which borders the western end of California, somewhat on the ocean, somewhat not on the ocean. Sometimes it takes you pretty far inland. My impression from the Pacific Coast Highway in movies and televisions and things was that it literally was just on top of a cliff overlooking the ocean down the entire coast of California. That is not true. It starts to get that way when you get around Thousand Oaks. That's if you're heading north, I should say. So that's when the road starts to go uphill a bit, and then you're up on the cliff and you see the beautiful view of the ocean, and you just feel like you're the only one in the world. And it's a pretty amazing feeling, but you still have to pay attention to the road. Don't stop doing that. It's very important. But interestingly, I'd gone out to see some friends of mine, and they lived in Camarillo. My dad was living in San Diego, so I went and visited my dad, drove up to Camarillo, and they said, just stay on the highway. You'll see the cliff and everything, and then you'll get the turnoff for Camarillo. Well, I missed the turnoff for Camarillo. I hadn't seen any cliffs yet, and it was right after that turnoff that I missed. That's when it started going uphill. So I did get to see it, one of the most breathtaking experiences of my life. And I know for any of you that have seen the Northern Lights or anything like that, you're like, yeah, okay, you saw the ocean from high up. That's great. But I haven't seen the Northern Lights. So I can say, for me personally, absolutely stunning experience, something I can say I've always wanted to see. And I'm very glad that I got to see that. So if it is about the Pacific Coast Highway, maybe it's about that. Maybe it's about the inner city part, which is constant stoplights and traffic and malls. I don't know. We're going to find out. Maybe it's not about the Pacific Coast Highway at all, and just a Pacific Highway. Another possibility. So we'll see as we get into the song. Here it is by Uriah Heep, our final track from the Raging Silence album, Pacific Highway. Wow, in that 15 seconds, that's actually a lot to unpack. The keyboard note was interesting. I really like the tone of it, but it's really kind of just a setting chord, right? It doesn't necessarily relate to anything in the song yet. Just kind of like, all right, when somebody blows into a harmonica to find the right pitch before they start singing. It kind of felt like that to me. Nice riff coming in from Mick. I like these riffs that we've heard before on this album, which are kind of non-committal. They kind of just give you a rhythm and a pulse, but don't have a huge amount of melody to them. So it's just more of like a rhythm track. And it just gives you like the pace, here's where we're headed, but it doesn't go into anything specific. So it leaves a lot of open territory. It doesn't give away the song just yet. I think that's kind of cool. I like when the drums come in and there's just like I don't know if it's a keyboard or backing vocals. It sounded like backing vocals to me. Just one note fade out real quick. That was kind of neat. But yeah, it's got an interesting start to it so far. Then, of course, a long bass run, just down all the way down that string. And we wonder where we're headed. No, we don't. We're down the Pacific Highway. I don't remember what song it was. I think it was one of the last ones that they did with Ken Hensley. And there was that same sort of, really quick vibrato on the keyboard that I said I didn't like. And now that I'm hearing it again, I still don't like it. It's just not a thing for me. But I do like the sound of the keyboard, that sort of synth brass that we're hearing here. It's a little bit different than the one we've heard before, but it sounds cool other than that vibrato for me. But it definitely has an 80s feel to it. I love the groove of it. The sound, actually, the mix is really good for a demo. It's weird that I like the demo mixes a lot of times better than the album mixes. But, that is what it is. But yeah, I think we're in good hands so far. I don't know what it is about poetry or lyrics or just kind of general storytelling. And I'm not picking on anybody because I've done this before myself, I'm sure, several times. But it just happened to dawn on me when he was doing the first verse. I've been driving since the break of dawn. That sounds kind of powerful, right? You're like, wow, you've been at this for a while. But we have no point of reference as to where you are now. So it could be 2 hours after dawn. It could be 16 hours after dawn. We really don't know. So it sounds kind of, epic and wow, you've really been, you've been just grinding it through this day. But we really don't have the point of reference to know exactly when that is. We only assume because it's not stated and one point of time is stated and it's kind of inferred that, I've been putting in the miles, that we assume that the break of day has been a long time ago. So again, I'm just using this song as an example because I find it fascinating, just the idea of how easy it is to paint a picture without actually using the words. We make the assumption that he's been driving for a long period of time, but we really don't know. It's just the way the structure of the words are set up just allows us to make that assumption because there's nothing to the contrary. I actually think it's really cool, but it's also kind of weird at the same time that we would just make an assumption without going, well, wait a minute, how long have you been in the car? I don't know, just kind of a me thing. I get weird with that. But I really like the chorus here because I actually thought he was just going to repeat the same words. And I liked that the last line was like a completely separate line that wasn't really tied to the chorus, but filled in the fourth line of the chorus. I thought that was pretty cool and a nice segue back into the riff. So here's where things do get a little bit confusing as far as the lyrics go. The beginning of the second verse says, I hope I don't get lost. But the end of the chorus says, I don't need directions to find you. So that's a little bit contradictory, or maybe he's gaining confidence through, from the time he did that first part of the lyric to the end of the chorus. I don't know. But the voice is strong. I love the sound of the voice on this. I love the backing vocals here. It's a little more, I don't want to say commercial because that's not the right word. I would say more traditional than what we've seen Heep do in a lot of cases with backing vocals. But I think sometimes a little bit of just, laying back and being a little more subtle is nice. It's a nice enhancer, doesn't override the lead vocal at all. I think it sounds really good. And the band is just playing solid. Not a whole lot going on musically. They're just really just playing very straightforward. And now's where we get into a change. Well, I think I'm going to chalk this up again to this being a demo version and not, an official studio release. But the bass drum was like nice and powerful. Like he's hitting that as hard as he can. But then the crash cymbals are just, they're just kind of there. They're not really as powerful as the bass drum is. And so I think maybe they're just a little too quiet in the mix, or maybe he just wasn't hitting them that hard because it wasn't a final version and they were just, trying to lay down a track for reference. I don't know, but I like the idea of what they were doing, and that's a really nice build from Phil Lanzon on the keyboards there. I really like the riff that he's playing, though. It's pretty cool. Again, it feels a little bit royal. Doesn't have that Renaissance feel that I get a lot of times with that particular type of sound, but I thought it sounded good. I really like it, and I like the build, and obviously we're heading into another part now. Well, that was another cool solo from Mick. Very energetic, very into the song. What I really like about this too is that he plays through part of it and then he like stops and drops down, almost like he says, all right, I'm going to attack this from another angle and do something even more different. And I thought that was really cool, but it's just got that passion that he's always got when he straps that guitar on. I would say, and this is just my guess through the 17 seasons that I've, watched what they've done with their backing vocals. I would think that a final version of this, an actual like official album release, would have probably more backing vocals in it. I'm sure there would be at least some layers following that lead. At least one or two more things they would have put in there. And I think the song could benefit from that as long as volume wise, they're not overpowering the lead, because I think that really just takes away from the song when it's mixed that way. But I definitely think it could benefit from their particular touch of backing vocal style.
I don't need directions to find my way back to you. I don't need directions to find my way back to you.
I do have to say, though, for a demo version, Bernie is just killing it, man. He's putting all the passion that he does into his performance, as he always does. He's not laying back one bit. He is giving this song every bit it deserves. And I really respect that. He's not laying back on the demo. Well, but what happened? So you got there. What happened? There needs to be another verse. Damn it. I want to know what happened. Was it everything you thought it would be? Did you get there and it was just completely different? We don't know how long it's been. He just said he was going back home. And it was obviously someplace he hadn't been in a while, but we don't know the time frame. It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be decades. So I want to know what happened, And granted, a highway is a hard thing to describe because it's really just a road, but tell me. I think it was a good song, though. I think that there was a lot of really good parts. I love that whole last section, starting from the additional keyboard build there. Really did not expect a mileage countdown, but that was done again with that passion. The only way that you can really pull something like that off and make it have value in the song, because if you look at that on paper, it's probably going to look like, oh God, that looks weird. That's probably not going to be good. The only way that you can make that work is exactly like Bernie did. He put every bit of excitement, every bit of longing, every bit of I finally made it into there. That made those lyrics work. Because if I had read the lyrics and I saw that on paper, I'd be like, ugh, please don't do that. Please tell me that's a misprint. Please tell me that you muted that out in the mix. But no, it really worked. And you know what? Here's the thing. So I take one day off a year, right? The day before NAMM, I usually go out to California a day early and I spend my day at the beach and I just walk up and down the beach and I take the ferry over to the island and I get a nice lunch and I come back and I walk up and down the beach. I film the sunset, get a hot chocolate. There's just a tradition to it. But the longer it takes me to drive from Vegas to that beach, because I go straight there, it just feels like forever. So I'm really identifying with this song just on that note, aside from the fact that we're talking about California Beach and Pacific Highway. That's just a double win for me right there. But it's that anticipation. It's that you set your mindset somehow for what your actual trip is going to be. And this is a really weird thing that I learned when I lived in Arizona. So when I first started driving to Vegas from Phoenix, I lived in North Phoenix. So I had a closer way of getting there, but I was taking away that wasn't as quick. I just didn't know there was a better way. So, because we had MapQuest back then. Yes, MapQuest. So I would drive all the way through Sun City to catch the highway to go up to Wickenburg. And I could have just driven up the main highway and then gotten off and taken Carefree Highway to Wickenburg, would have been faster. So the trip was about, and this was before the Hoover Dam bypass. So the trip was about 5 hours, I think. And you get yourself psyched for that, right? Because about 4.5 hours in, I'd be like, oh God, can I just get there already? Is there like a button I can press and just be there? Because I'm so tired of driving. And I've only been driving for 4.5 hours. I've driven from Colorado to Michigan, which is 26 hours from place to place. And I didn't start getting tired at 4.5 hours because you have that mindset, right? You're geared up to a certain time frame. So within like an hour, 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, of however long the distance, that's where you're going to start to get tired. Now, when you're heading to your destination, you get the excitement that Bernie's feeling right here. He's got a connection with it. It's where he's from. It's his home. He's going home to familiar things, to comfort, and he can't wait to get there. And he's excited. He's finally made it to the highway, and you feel every little bit of that. You know, a lot of singers could sing the story and you'd get it. You'd be like, yeah, man, wow, that's cool. Yeah, long drive. Yeah, you're probably tired. I get it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what it feels like to get close to home. But you don't just like nod your head with this story. You are in it. You're there. You're almost inside his brain as you're getting closer and closer, and you see those numbers going down and the excitement is growing, and you're like, finally, I'm there. This really is a spectacular piece of music for a demo. And in that light, it actually really makes me sad that this wasn't released as part of the album or as a single or something, because I really think there's some magic there. You know, to be able to tell that story with that kind of intensity, and it's not shouting, it's not, being louder or being more gritty or putting more, making it throatier. It's not any of that. It's the overall feel of that passion, of that relief, of that, finally, I'm here, and because we've probably all done some kind of trip, whether it be by, car, boat, airplane, whatever it is, I'm sure we've all, or most of us, have experienced that. We're on a long journey, finally at the end, and it's exciting. You're tired, but you're excited, and that brings all the adrenaline and all the things that you're going to see and do wherever you're going. But it was brought out in such a way that was very, very well done. And I don't think a lot of singers would have necessarily put that much into the demo, let alone just, really given 1,000% for that performance. And then you've got the whole song is sounding really good and full by this point, because you've got that extra track from Phil on keyboards. We've got the guitar coming in, the bass and drums are just killing it. It's just a really great song. I have to say, I'm pretty sad that this didn't get released. I think, had they re-recorded it or even just touched up this demo version with maybe a couple of other backing vocals or something, I think it probably could have done just as well. There's a lot of, you think about songs like Carefree Highway, Highway Star. I think there's one called Route 66. Like road songs are kind of popular. So I kind of feel like there was maybe a potential missed opportunity here, but I think this is a good, solid song. So kudos to Uriah Heep. Another great one. And what a great way to round this album. Finish season 17. It's been such a journey, such a blast, so much great music on this album, and, all the fresh energy of a couple of new members. And we're going to take that energy right into the next album. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me on this song. I know this podcast was a little bit longer than my norm for just one version of a song, but damn, it was good. It was worth talking about. It was worth digging into and really understanding what was so amazing about this bonus track. So I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next show. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!